The request of the Indian fans has finally been granted as Caitlin Clark has changed her plans for the European League, returned to America, and decided to play in the WNBA once more. However, it should be noted that the WNBA has a toxic culture and has been a hot mess with Caitlin throughout the season, while Europe was essentially giving her the royal treatment, ready to put a crown on her head and make her the highest paid female in the league.
From the sounds of this interview, it seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season.
However, WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert acknowledged the error and personally apologized to Caitlin, denouncing the racism and promising to make amends because, let's face it, the WNBA has suffered without Caitlin Clark and now cannot afford to lose her permanently. What is the WNBA planning now, and will they truly follow through on their commitments? How specifically did they persuade her to stay after all that drama?
Apology is warranted to Caitlin Clark, or they just need to.
Now, when was the last time you heard a sports commissioner act so weak and apologize to a player? Well, never. And let's face it, Caitlin was about to step down, take the bag, and become the face of basketball internationally. So for the commissioner to go into full-on "we failed you" mode was the height of desperation. This wasn't just a PR ploy they came up with in a boardroom. It was personal. The commissioner came forward and acknowledged that the WNBA had let Caitlin down in a big way, allowing shady politics and outright racist behavior to occur both on and off the court, and the league turning a blind eye.
Then, Cathy Engelbert took to social media late last night, clarifying, in part, she said, quote, "There is absolutely no place for hate or racism of any kind in the WNBA or anywhere else."
The WNBA isn't exactly known for handling their drama, so when they finally admit that they failed Caitlin, it's not just surprising, it's full-on wild. It's as if they finally realized that they didn't just lose a player, they lost the player. Caitlin wasn't just their star. She was the reason people even tuned in, and without her, ticket sales tanked, viewership nosedived, and the entire league was on the verge of flatlining. The WNBA didn't just mess up. They were staring at their own downfall, and Caitlin was the key to keeping the ship afloat.
But the WNBA has been a mess this year. It has been so unprofessional, and they need to step it up, and they need to step it up quick.
By declining that lovely European gig, she's saying, "Yeah, you messed up, but now you're going to fix it." This isn't just about her either. She's making the entire league take a serious look in the mirror and begin addressing the issues they've been ignoring. Her apology wasn't merely for show. It was a wake-up call to the WNBA and the fans for promising that things will change and that Caitlin is leading the charge, saying she will now try to adjust after the WNBA's previous behavior. If the WNBA doesn't correct their act, they'll lose much more than just Caitlin the next time.
I think it'll definitely be a little bit of an adjustment period for myself, not really.
Now that Caitlin is back, but on her terms, the WNBA understands that they cannot afford to make a mistake once more. With Caitlin's return, they have the opportunity to completely change their narrative rather than just have their star back. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about mending what's broken, and Caitlin is in control of everything. It's a power transfer unlike anything we've ever seen, and it will be the tale that people talk about for years to come.
And I'm telling you right now, if the WNBA can get away with this, what's gonna happen next is one of the biggest robberies.
It turned out that Caitlin had been dealing with a variety of trash on and off the court, and who are the main characters in this horror show? The inquiry into the league's internal problems revealed more than just a few rotten apples. Oh no, this was a full-blown scandal. You had to know that Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas's names would be mentioned right away, because these two had reportedly been saying a lot more than just hard fouls, racist remarks, bullying, and anything else you could think of. The league decided to overlook it because, spoiler alert, Caitlin versus Angel was good for ratings.
Try to implant racism and imply that everyone is racist because they don't agree with them. And they try to put that into everything that they're doing, by then responding and saying, if you don't agree with me, you're racist.
Caitlin had been quietly putting up with this nonsense for months in the hopes that someone would step in, but the WNBA pretty much turned a blind eye, acting as though it was just a friendly rivalry. However, when Caitlin finally had enough and said, "I'm out of here," the league realized they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives because Caitlin wasn't just a superstar. She was the superstar, and when she left, the money went with her ticket sales, viewership crashed, sponsors, and let's not even begin. What did the WNBA do? They went from everything is fine to we're so sorry, Caitlin. Please come back. In record time, the commissioner, Kathy Angelbert, had to step in and apologize publicly. Yes, they went from downplaying everything to openly sulking in front of Caitlin and the fans. Believe me, the WNBA doesn't do that. This was unheard of, and it was an obvious indication that the league was in dire straits.
They really felt like was a missed opportunity from Kathy Engelbert to really address and say, we don't support this sort of behavior in our league. And Breanna Stewart was another player who, after her game yesterday, came out and really echoed those sentiments and said that as much as the players love this sort of influx of fans that have come from this rivalry, at a certain point, enough is enough, and that's what they really hope.
Caitlin wasn't waiting for an apology during all of this chaos, though. Instead, Europe approached her with a deal that would have made her the highest-paid female player in history. We're talking about over $10 million annually, folks. That's life-altering money that the WNBA couldn't touch right wrong in a move no one saw coming. In some ways, the WNBA outbid Europe. Yes, you did read correctly. The league, which is infamous for paying shamefully low salaries, discovered a huge sum of money to throw to Caitlin out of the blue. They felt they had no other option since without her, the league would have collapsed. In addition to being the WNBA spokesperson, Caitlin is the league's lifeline, and they cannot afford to make a mistake again. The league's whole future rests on Caitlin's shoulders now that she is back on her terms, and you can be sure they are aware of this. The WNBA will lose much more than only Caitlin the next time if they don't improve their performance now.
And the Fever are going to be over 200,000 higher than the next highest total attendance in league history. Clarkomics, my friend, Clarkomics.
Because it's not even subtle. The WNBA's ticket sales are at an all-time low when Caitlin Clark leaves the league, and the entire league begins to collapse faster than a malfunctioning elevator. Viewership of Crash and Burn was cut in half during Caitlin's rookie season in 2024. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was essentially running the entire organization. Yes, that wasn't just impressive, it was historic. She dragged the WNBA to heights they hadn't even imagined in decades, with her games drawing an absurd 1.8 million viewers on average. Let me reiterate that 1.8 million viewers. The WNBA hadn't seen numbers like that since they invented the 3-0 line.
Since the start of the regular season, sales of WNBA merchandise are up over 500% versus the same period last year, with fan gear sales over the first half of the season at the highest in league history. Player-specific merchandise, including jerseys and t-shirts, have seen a staggering 1,000% increase in sales. Additionally, sales of league-specific merchandise like the popular orange WNBA hoodie are also up 200%. The top-selling WNBA player merch, Caitlin Clark, #1 in jersey sales.
The situation was completely different when Caitlin was on the court. The Fever's games became the most popular tickets in town, and we're not just talking about packing the stand with people. Her jersey sales were over the roof. If you wanted to see her perform, good luck obtaining a seat. Every game was sold out. The WNBA was essentially making money because to Caitlin Clark, but as soon as she left, everything stopped selling items. The arenas that had been packed with yelling fans started to seem like ghost towns, and nobody was rushing to get tickets.
Since Caitlin Clark was eliminated from the playoffs, WNBA ratings have declined 50%. They have lost half of their audience in less than a week, and it's only going to get worse from here.
However, as soon as she even suggested that she could be departing, it was as if someone pressed the emergency stop button on the hype train, causing it to spectacularly collapse. Fans left the league more quickly than people leaving a bad movie. Let's discuss the details. That one game at the Fever's 2024 playoff opener drew 2.5 million viewers, which was essentially unprecedented for the WNBA. Then Caitlin came out, and the following round of games barely made half of that. Even the semifinals, which are meant to be the games that draw everyone in, saw a sharp decline in viewership from 1.8 million to just 64,000. It was as if everyone said, "Yeah, no thanks, we're good," the moment Caitlin wasn't playing.
The female Suns were averaging close to 2 million viewers when they were playing against Caitlin Clark. These are the same female Suns that claim Caitlin Clark is not the only draw in the WNBA. Sunday night against the Minnesota Lynx, 654,000 viewers.
It should come as no surprise that the WNBA was prepared to go to any lengths to win Caitlin back after witnessing their fan base and bank accounts vanish along with her. The league suffered a severe financial and cultural blow, and their apology wasn't just about making amends for Caitlin. It was also about keeping the league as a whole from collapsing because they knew they needed her and couldn't function without her. The commissioner had the defibrillator in hand in an attempt to shock the WNBA back into relevancy, because the league was not just in crisis, but also on life support.